If you have ever struggled with achieving the level of results that you want in your business, your career, your life, if you've ever been in a situation where you felt like, hey, man, I've been working my ass off, and for whatever reason, I am not getting there. I'm not making up ground on where I used to be. I am not getting to the place I want to be. Maybe you might have felt even that you are past your prime, like your best days are behind you. If this has ever happened to you, I want you to know that this is very typical. It happens to a lot of people, and you true drivens already know that it's kind of part of the process and the formula. Today, I want to talk to you specifically about the some of the things that you don't need to worry about anymore. I just realized I still have my earbuds in. So if you're joining me here, throw it in the chat, say what's up, let me know where you're tuning in from. I want to share with you something that came up in my recent kind of study, if you will. I want to address a couple of the things that I saw because, frankly, it's kind of bullshit. Somebody that I actually respect, somehow I ended up on their list. I'm on their newsletter list, I guess, if you want to call it that, their email list. They sent something out, and I'm going to just take a piece of it because it was kind of like one of the root messages that was part of the content, part of the email. And I just got to say, I was annoyed. This is somebody who presents themselves as a leadership coach or a leadership expert. And what they stated was there was a couple of statements that were just genuine bullshit. Let me just start with this. I'm going to read the statements, and then I'm going to come back and tell you what I think is off about this. The first one, your grit in parentheses isn't your strength. It's a byproduct of emotional wounds. Your drive in parentheses, or I should say in quotes, equals, your drive are your wounds demanding to be proven wrong. And then your success, again in quotes, isn't proof of freedom. It's you outrunning your truth. So I'm sharing this with you because, again, this installment of the website or the YouTube channel is called Where to Focus. And the reason I'm stating this is because you true drivens know, you guys come here. This is a resource for people who are genuinely, authentically driven, or maybe you've lost your authentic drive, or maybe you want to gain it. You want to actually claim it. So it's kind of like for a group of folks that are driven, either naturally have been, or they want to find that natural drive. They don't want to be motivated. They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want outward accountability. These are people that are genuinely want the best for themselves. True, authentic, personal excellence. That's what the entire True Driven movement's about. I created this years ago, back in 2019, when I first saw a real misunderstanding of what it meant to be driven. What true driven means is that you are truly driven. So I saw this and I thought to myself, okay, I know that there are people out there right now that are frustrated with themselves. Maybe you feel like you're not matching up to what your expectations were for yourself, your career, your business. Maybe you've gone through a tough time. Maybe you've had some things happen to you where, you've got knocked off the horse and you think, I don't know if I'm, capable of getting back up on the horse. If that's you, give me a shout out. What's up, Margot? Great to see you, my friend. I appreciate you joining me here from Arizona. I want to say a couple things first and foremost. Grit is not this statement was coming from the idea that you have trauma, and that the reason that you are successful or the reason that you're pushing so hard is to basically outrun your trauma. Now, let me say this before we get going. If you genuinely have trauma, if something awful has happened to you, I have a ton of empathy for that. I want to just simply say, having gone through some awful shit in my life, personally, I don't allow my trauma to hold me back. I don't allow my trauma to define who the fuck I am. I refuse to allow society, especially, to reinforce victimhood in my personal life. Now, I'm not saying the people that have trauma or are held back by trauma do that. I'm just simply stating, from my perspective, I just don't operate like that. And so for those of you who refuse to operate like that, I want to give you some resources and tools to help you with that. If you have genuinely gone through trauma, if you genuinely have that, I encourage you to get some help with that. Get some support, whether that's through you know, therapy, or if it's through talking to a counselor or whatever. I mean that. I authentically mean that. I want people to be better. But this person who wrote this, your grit isn't your strength. Are you fucking kidding me? It's a byproduct of your emotional wounds. No, actually, it's not. Grit is a cultivated strength. If you have genuine grit, you have to earn that. You're not born with grit. You earn it because you have decided that you're going to pursue something that's very difficult. Now, you might have personal struggles, okay? You may have personal struggles that have contributed to your resilience. That's true. And those personal struggles, every fucking person goes through. So to sit here and claim, as this person does, that trauma or grit, let me go back, grit is not your strength, is complete and utter bullshit. Your grit is indicative. Like, you had to earn that. That's like saying that if you have muscles, let's say you work out hard, you've worked out for years, and you've got a muscular build. That's like saying you have muscles, but it's not from strength. It's because you just have muscles. Grit is something you have to work for, just like muscles. Grit is something that comes through persevering through difficulties and challenges. So if you are a person who has grit, do not let society tell you that you are a person that's outrunning your trauma. Now, if you are genuinely outrunning your trauma, let me say this about that. Let's just say hypothetically for 2 seconds that this person has a point. Your grit isn't your strength. It's a byproduct of emotional wounds. Your drive is your wounds demanding to be proven wrong. I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. Your success isn't proof of freedom. It's you outrunning your truth. Let's just say hypothetically that this person's points are on point, that they are 100% factual. Let's just say, let's just wear the shoes for 2 seconds and walk a mile in them. Would it be better to be somebody who has trauma, like authentic? I'm not talking about people who have had their gym teacher in high school call them a name and therefore now they're just wounded for the rest of their life, or somebody mistreated them and now they're going to carry that for the rest of their life by living in the past and being a victim. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, like, you actually have something that genuinely sucks. Something traumatic happened to you. And let's say hypothetically, you use that trauma to develop your grit. You have grit. Let's say you use that trauma and you developed drive. Let's say you have trauma and you used it to develop success, to generate success for yourself. Let's just say hypothetically this argument has validity. Is that a bad thing? Is it a bad thing to take something that fucking happened to you that's awful and turn it into something great where you have grit? What is not admirable about somebody that has grit, a gritty person? There's a whole entire book written on it. What about drive? If you have drive, or if you have generated success for you, what's the alternative? The alternative to this is to capitulate to the trauma, to lay on the couch, play the victim, and pretend like the world owes you one. Now, I understand that this day and age, that's a very popular, even sexy thing for people. We have glorified mediocrity. We have glorified being a victim. We have glorified being stuck, stagnant, and miserable in our life. In fact, the more unhealthy you are, we've got a cocktail for you. Either a literal one, alcohol, drugs, porn, gambling, or we've got big pharma that's willing to pump you full of bullshit to keep you sick and medicated, compliant. It takes true strength for somebody to rise through the ashes of their trauma and develop grit. It takes true strength for somebody to rise through the ashes of their trauma and develop a drive. For those of you who have ever had your drive and then lost it, you know how fucking sad and frustrating that can be. Part of the big reason I created the True Driven movement was for people who literally are trying to reclaim their drive. That hunger, that desire, that fight, that inner warrior spirit, if that's what you want to think of it. I hesitate to use the word warrior spirit because honestly, I got a little bit of a personal bias on that, having actually been to war a few times. People call themselves a warrior when they don't really know what it's like to put your life on the line, but let's just save that for another rant. If you have generated success in your life, maybe you've got financial success, maybe you've got career success, maybe you have a very healthy body, and you did that outrunning your trauma, according to this person. What's better? That reality or the reality of the person who fucking sits on the couch all day eating junk food, processed food, garbage, treating themselves like a human dumpster, furthering their misery? Which one's better? Now, here's one thing I will say. I'll play devil's advocate for just a moment. What the hell? If what the person is saying, and I'm sure this is the whole point of them trying to book a call with them, is to help you get to the root of your trauma so that you can heal from it, fantastic. But that's probably not what's up here. What's up here is another guru or wannabe fucking expert trying to shill you on their little program that they can help you somehow overcome yourself and not be so driven. Well, here's the fucking counter to that. First and foremost, grit is a cultivated strength. You have to earn it. So if you have grit, it's not because you are trying to outrun your trauma. You have grit because you genuinely leveraged the pain that happened to you, the disappointments, the frustrations, and you pushed through it. It takes commitment in order to do that. You don't get to just go, fuck, something bad happened to me. I'm going to show up tomorrow on Monday and I'm going to kick ass. And then all of a sudden, there you are. She lived happily ever after. That's not how it works. It's a commitment. Like, it's a commitment to growth and excellence. I'm holding my notes here because I have notes, because it's that important of a message. The thing that I will tell you in my personal experience, now, just for perspective, I know it's not a ton of experience, but I've been doing this for about 18 years as an entrepreneur. Most of that time has been guided or been driven towards helping people achieve success for themselves, not just for myself. Now, a lot of everything I train you and teach you guys on, I did and have developed for myself through myself. I'm basically the lab rat. So the True Driven process is basically a leadership lab, and I'm the lab rat. So I've been through this. Now, 18 years as an entrepreneur, but many years before that, basically a lifetime, 5 decades of leading myself through life and leading others, being the person that people turn to. Now, I'm not saying that to boast. I'm just trying to put it in perspective that when I talk about these things, when I see successful people in life that have grit, that does not mean that they replaced their trauma, their pain with grit. They had to earn it. It's the most oxymoronic thing in the world to say, oh, well, you don't really have grit. It isn't strength. It's just you. It's a byproduct of your emotional wounds. Okay, I guess, but isn't it a healthy one? If that's true, the other part about it is, let's just say for argument's sake that you actually went through the gauntlet of creating the grit. Wouldn't you at some point start to actually heal the wounds that this person is saying that all your grit is a byproduct of? Think of it this way, and don't take my word for it. Go try this out. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling flat, if you're feeling stuck, just sit on the couch and do nothing and see how you feel. Now, you might need a rest. It's possible that maybe you're burnt out, you're fried, your adrenals are totally cooked, and you actually need to rest. That's fair enough. But if you're really depressed and flat and you're just feeling stuck in life, the antidote to that is not sitting stagnant. It's actually cultivating grit. It's being able to say, fuck this, I'm getting myself out of this. The reality is everything that's going on in your life right now is the result of your leadership. If you're living a great life, if you've got a business that's flourishing, if you've got employees and you've got staff that are counting on you for their paycheck, you have done something very, like, you're having success. It takes grit to be able to do that. If your business is flat, it's not doing what it wants to do. Okay, great. It's just an indicator. It's not an indicator of you. It doesn't mean you're bad. It just means, hey, maybe you need to develop that grit. I don't know. But everything in your life is a consequence of your leadership. Every problem you have is a leadership problem. Every success you have is a leadership success. So that's a great way of looking at it. And the reason that I focus so much on fucking personal leadership is because it is the antidote for the vast majority of the problems that we have in society. But we can't fix society. We have to fix ourselves first. You become very hypocritical if you're saying you need to fix yourself and you're fucked up and that person over there is jacked up and that group of people over there, they're insane. If we do that and operate from that place, we have failed the mission. The main mission is to create the best versions of ourselves first. Through that gauntlet of grit and that cultivation of strength, we can then transfer that knowledge onto other people. That, by the way, is at its very core the definition of leadership. But I digress. Let's talk about motivation for a second, or what people call drive, what I call drive. Some people call it motivation. The difference between motivation and drive is motivation typically needs an outside stimulus. Motivational speakers, they make a career on that. I've been called a motivational speaker before, just because I have a professional speaking career that's done very well, fed my family and done lots of cool things with it, opened all kinds of fucking doors for me since I got out of the military. Somehow I'm a motivational speaker. I choose to not accept that label because there's way more to what I do than motivational speaking. I may speak and it may create a spark in somebody, it may ignite them. That's an external stimulus that they received from something I did. Great. I'll accept that. And I'm actually honored when they say that. However, it's what happens afterwards. If that person is now activated and they can step into some strategy, whether a strategy I provide for them or a strategy they find for themselves, and they take the action, the repetitive action to develop the skills, to take the risks, to test, to fail, to get back up and to keep going, that's where true success comes from. You can't be motivated in order to succeed. You have to be driven. Motivation requires that external stimulus to kick your ass, to be that cattle prod every fucking morning, every afternoon, or whenever you might need it, when your energy's low and your little feelings are hurt. But drive, being a truly driven person, means that you know you're going to have your fucking off days. In fact, more often than not, you're not going to feel like doing the thing you know you got to do. That is not motivation. At its core, it's discipline. That awful, ugly, negative word that everybody loves to throw away. To me, it's one of the sexiest words in the English language. But more sexy than the word itself is the behavior of it, the demonstration. So if you're somebody who is driven, and perhaps you're finding yourself a little bit flat, my encouragement to you, my heartfelt, genuine encouragement, because I genuinely care about you, is to start working on your discipline. You do not have to be a paragon of discipline today. You don't have to be Jocko Willink. You don't have to be David Goggins. You don't have to be Sarah Blakely. You don't have to be Mel Robbins. You have to be you, and you have to decide where you're at right now. By the way, discipline is not a set it and forget it thing. I will tell you from personal experience, I have gone through ebbs and flows where my discipline was outstanding and other times when my discipline was absolutely fucking awful. Does that make me a bad or a weak person? No, it makes me a fucking human being willing to demonstrate to you through vulnerability and honesty that you are not broken. You are not ineffective as a human being. It happens to everybody. So if you really want to be driven, you have to find the actual drive for yourself, not motivation. When this person's talking about drive is your wounds demanding to be proven wrong, I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. Like, we all have wounds. I have wounds. My wounds aren't going, JT, please go out there, stay driven so you can prove me wrong. Are you fucking kidding me? If anything, your wounds would want to prove them right. would want to be proven right. See, I told you you couldn't do it because society told us because we have ADHD or because we have this or we have that, or we were hit by a drunk driver when we were 16, or we went through a divorce, or so and so passed away. Somehow that just gives us literary license to be poor little victims and stay on the couch and the world will take care of us. That's what that would fucking like. That's what your wounds would demand. Your wounds demand that you are proven wrong. Your wounds are demanding that they are proven right. I told you that we're weak. I told you we had a reason for not showing up. I told you we had a reason for procrastinating. I told you we had a reason for not meeting the standard that we set for ourselves and matching the expectations that we had when we began the journey. That's what your wounds would do. But a truly driven person says, fuck no. Now, I have a podcast that's coming out this week. A podcast episode of the True Driven podcast. It's coming out on Wednesday, March the 26th. For any of you that have had any kind of struggles with this, where you're like, you know what, dude, I feel flat, man. Not only do I feel flat, I feel like I'm passionate about my mission or my dream, but nobody else believes in it. I can't get people to fucking, follow me on this path. I can't get people to enlist in the dream itself. This podcast goes directly out to you. That's what's coming out March 26th. If you haven't yet done so, please hit the subscribe button here on the YouTube channel so you can stay in the know and be the first to know when I drop new content, including this Wednesday, the 26th of March. I hope you check it out. I hope you get some value from it. But I'm going to be talking a lot about this because it's not about your motivation. It's about your vision for your business, for your life, and the ability to convey that. The ability to communicate it in a way that people understand it, but also the right people will follow. Not everybody's going to follow you, my friend. They just aren't. And it's not because you're a bad person or you're not worth following. It's because some people simply don't get it. For now. They may not get it right now. They may get it later on, if that makes sense. And even if they don't, who fucking cares? You don't want 10 billion people following you. You just want a narrow band of really driven badasses that get you, that understand your vision to follow you. And that's all that really matters. So it's not about motivation. This idea that your wounds are demanding to be proven wrong. Your wounds are demanding to be proven right, dude. Like that's what this Here's the thing about success. Your success isn't proof of freedom. It's you outrunning your truth, which would imply that you are somehow a slave to the truth that you are avoiding, I guess, would be the way I would paraphrase that. It's a very confusing thing. Your success isn't proof of freedom. Look, dude, if your success, if you have success right now in any aspect of your life, and you do, there's no way you wouldn't. If you're tuning into this on some capacity, maybe you're extremely healthy. Maybe you are extremely wealthy. You've got like all of your dreams figured out financially. Maybe you've got success with your relationships. You're an amazing parent, spouse, grandparent, whatever. Perhaps you are successful in your business. You've got a lot of people who follow you. You got a lot of people who are helping you build. You get the idea. On some level, you have some success. Maybe you got through med school or college. Maybe you graduated. Maybe you overcame a legitimate, serious medical issue. Maybe you are currently going through that. Success is not a destination. It's a forward movement. It's a journey. I know that sounds inherently fucking trite. I get it. And I don't mean to just sound like one of these, motivational posters in the office break room. But honestly, dude, success, the best way I can think of it is you're running. Let me know. Okay, I think I may have crashed and come back. So let me know if I'm still here. If you would please. I felt like I was on a tear there. I was just getting into it. I was just starting to feel it. You cannot run. I mean, I guess you could technically run from your pain. Um, okay, good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Margot. I don't know what happened there. I got the spinning wheel of death and there was some sort of thing saying I lost my feed. We're back. Here we are. Um, I think I got you. I think we got through this. So you could run, I guess technically you could run from your trauma. Like you could run from your pain. You could run from your the bad shit that's happened in life. It's kind of a, if anything, it's a little bit of a trope, like in literature and in movies and things like this. The person who went through a really shitty time, abusive relationship, abusive upbringing, and they use that to kind of push them and propel them forward. I've got a similar story. What the fuck, man? At some point though, it's not sustainable. Like you can run from your past, but eventually if you're truly driven, you supplant that with a vision for your future, the life you genuinely want to live. Instead of running from something you don't want, you can only run far from that for so long, and then pretty soon you run out of gas. What actually propels you is a purpose-driven sense of importance, intention. And if you need help with that, if that's something that you need genuine support with, let me know, because that's exactly what the true driven is all about. But when I hear this, like success isn't proof of freedom. It's you outrunning your truth. Come on, dude. Your truth is who you are. Yeah, part of your truth. Let's talk about this for a second. Part of your truth is your past, for sure. I get it. You were born in a certain time. You were raised in a certain part of the world, certain part of the country, whatever. You were raised with belief systems. You were raised with limitations, and you were raised with benefits. Unless you were like born in a fucking prison cell, right? So you had opportunities, you had limitations, just like everybody else. We all do. But that's not your truth. That's only part of your truth. The other part of your truth is you get to define on a daily basis who you genuinely are. That's self-leadership. You get to wake up in the morning and decide if you're going to play the game small, if you're going to play the game soft, or if you're going to play the game big, you're going to play the game hard, you're going to play the game to fucking win. Some days are great, some days aren't. Some days you're on and some days you're off. It's fine. But see, when they're talking about it's you outrunning your truth. Like when you have success, that's you outrunning your truth. Are you fucking crazy? You can't possibly, like measurable success. You can't possibly attain something only driven by outrunning your past, outrunning your truth. You can't do that. That's like that statement, it's you outrunning your truth, is insanely silly. It's ridiculous. It's beyond dumb, because the truth of who you are is what we were talking about with the grit and some of that internal drive, who you genuinely are, but also the vision for what you want to achieve. That's success. You don't just happen on success. It doesn't just happen. The success that you've attained in your life, my friend, was not by happenstance. You didn't just luck your way into it. You didn't. I don't care what anybody fucking tells you, especially yourself. So when we talk about overcoming these limiting behaviors and limiting beliefs, a lot of it comes down to, look, we can you can oversimplify things. Like we as human beings, we can oversimplify things. We can simply say, "Oh, well, I didn't do that because I'm a procrastinator, or I'm not very driven, or I'm not tech savvy," or whatever. We kind of oversimplify things. But in that oversimplification, we have a tendency to give ourselves labels that are not effective. So how do we do this? First and foremost, you got to understand you can heal and achieve, and those can coexist. They can be synonymous. Like you can have both of them. You can say to yourself, I deserve better from my life. Right now, you may not be where you want to be. That may be difficult, that may be frustrating, that may be heartbreaking. And what you have the capacity to do is to start creating a vision for what you truly want. What would it look like for you to have the life, the business, the career, the relationships, the health, the fitness, the body that you want? Create that for yourself. Not from some kind of dream board, vision board, woo woo bullshit. I'm talking about like, okay, this is genuinely what I love about life and what I want more of in my life. If I could have anything, that's what it would look like. The next part about that is that we got to start to create the identity around that. We got to start to realize that the only way you personally could even conceptualize of that vision is because there's a piece of it already in you. There are parts of your success that I would never imagine for myself, and vice versa. There are people out there right now. Just think of this. Think of somebody that you look up to, somebody that you think is just awesome, a paragon of success. Would you want to have 100% of their life, their reality? Honestly, probably not, right? I wouldn't. Like, I could think of a couple people where I'm like, yeah, man, that person's awesome. I fucking really respect them. They have a tremendous amount of success. I love the characteristics and how they live their life, how they pursue their thing. But if you said, okay, well, JT, do you want to have their life? I would say 100% no way. No, thank you. And the reason for that is because you can see, you identify, because there's parts of you in that you see and you admire, but it's not 100% you. So you're not going to go, I want to adopt somebody else's thing, because all of us, like, you'd be pretty unhappy pretty quickly. So the results in the life that you see might be exciting and might be alluring and might be something that's to you fascinating and something that you would like to emulate. But you and I both know it doesn't make sense, because you would genuinely want to create your own version of that. And that's what's most important. And that's the unique part about you. You actually have inside of you right now the capacity to achieve the things that you envision for yourself, for your business, for your career. If it's not presently the reality for you, not a problem. Not a problem. The fact that you can create a vision for it, that's the very first step towards the road of success. But we know, I think you guys get this by now, that anything that you have in your life right now is a byproduct of your leadership and your execution. So your leadership is just that ability to develop that vision for yourself, the drive and all the things that you need in order to get through with it. The strategy, you got to have some strategy for sure. I'm not saying you don't want to go without strategy. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, dude, I am somebody who operates at a high level. And then you start to create those characteristics. You get to define those. And then you get to start to follow through with that. And again, I promise the podcast coming out on Wednesday is going to help more and more with the vision piece. I won't get into it today. I just simply want to say this. Your healing process, if you're going through something difficult, something challenging, something sad, something, dare we say, traumatic, your success is not shameful. Your drive is not shameful. Your grit is not shameful. It's not you outrunning your pain. The healing part, the healing process and the achievement process, they can actually work together. So here's the question. Would you rather have pain? Would you rather have past trauma? Would you rather have things that are fucking awful and you allow that to hold you back? Or would you rather have them propel you forward? I know what the answer would be for most of you. It's more of a question for you to meditate on, think about, journal about. And that's my challenge to you. By the way, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I will be happy to answer those as we wrap up here. I just have a couple more things that I want to share with you before we close out. In all the years that I've been working with high achievers, military and civilian, business and all these kinds of things, I don't think I've ever run into a single person who was either successful or on the path to creating success that felt like they had arrived. I can't think of a single person. Now, I have met and worked with very highly successful people, like extremely successful. I know very highly successful is kind of a redundancy, but my point is, and they will operate from a place of gratitude. They seem at peace. And I think that's a really important lesson, Because no matter how you define success, success is defined personally. Each and every one of us defines it differently. One thing that I would encourage, because I don't like to infuse my views on people in terms of how you should see success, but there is one thing that I would encourage you to consider, and that is this. Ensure that your measure of success includes peace. Ensure that your level of success, or your definition of success, includes joy. Maybe not happiness, but joy. So that even in the process of getting your ass kicked or working really hard and kind of being in those stages of business life where you just feel like you're not going anywhere, maybe even sliding a little bit backwards, you can at least go, you know what, man, this is kind of fucking awesome. I mean, it sucks right now, but it's short-lived. And at some point when this chapter's over, I'm going to look back on this and laugh. But for right now, I'll be honest, it kind of blows. But you know what, dude, I'm doing it, man. I'm doing it. If you can find that in yourself, that is one of the most important things you can do for yourself to help kind of redefine what success truly is. That means that you can be successful now, not when you achieve the thing. You can be successful today, not someday. And isn't that pretty fucking awesome? Overcoming or crushing limiting behaviors and beliefs starts with realizing that you are in a place right now that would be enviable to a lot of people. And I don't say that from a place of patronizing or, hey, grow up, suck it up, and get after it. What I'm saying is, dude, you're doing it. You're making it happen. And when we see messages like this that are being propagated by gurus and experts, it's alarming to me. That's where I'm like, holy fucking shit, dude. I can't let my true drivens be poisoned by this without at least giving them something to think about differently. Your results are the byproduct of your behaviors. Your behaviors are the byproduct of your beliefs. I've done podcast trainings on this, and I do other trainings inside the True Driven group with this, but you guys understand those two things will drive your results. So if you're not getting the results you want, if you're not at the level of success that you want, number one, that's okay, because you're further along than you think you are. Unless you have dropped out and quit and just decided, fuck it. But if that was the case, you're probably not listening to this. And if it is the case, then I want to encourage you to get back off the fucking mat. Come on, man. I believe in you. If you're one of those people that's trying to find your drive or reclaim your drive, maybe you feel like I've never been driven in my life. I'm trying to find that drive. Welcome. You're in the right place. If you're somebody who's like, man, I used to be fucking on top of my game. I used to be driven and now I'm not. And you were trying to reclaim that drive. Welcome. You have a home here. But my point is this, like your success in any mark of life is evident of your commitment. It's also evident of your behaviors and your belief systems. So if right now you're not where you want to be, the first thing is to get clear on what you actually want. When was the last time you thought about that? Start developing a vision for yourself. And I'm not just talking about goals. Oh, I would love to pay off my debt. I would love to buy a new car. Not that kind of shit. I'm talking about the quality of life, the impact you wanted to make. And if you need help with the vision piece, stay tuned. Podcast coming out this Wednesday is going to genuinely help you with that. At the end of the day, you have to understand that any kind of limiting behavior, meaning you take kind of half-assed action or you don't take action at all, or you take delayed action, that kind of stuff will generate kind of a snowball effect, if you will. And so that could possibly be driving your results or lack thereof. Those behaviors are genuinely, usually supported by limiting beliefs. So you have a limiting belief, it's going to naturally decrease your behavior. It's going to decrease your output and your performance. But let's keep it super simple. Not to oversimplify it, but let's keep it super fucking simple, right? If you're not where you want to be in life, take a look at your behaviors. And if you're looking at your behaviors, you're like, yeah, they just, for some reason, I'm not getting where I want to go. Take a look at your belief systems. And your belief systems can be worked on. You can actually work on those. They can actually be modified. You are not, Jesus, you are not your fucking emotional wounds. You are not your wounds demanding to be proven wrong. Your fucking success is not you outrunning your truth of your pain or what. Man, that's not what's going on. What's going on is maybe you need to recalibrate your vision. Maybe it's something that you need to say, hey, to yourself, I've adopted a poisonous belief system around this. And that belief system is limiting or hamstringing my fucking performance. So therefore my behaviors aren't showing up. And, and that's the reason I'm not getting the results that I want. I'm going to suppose it's more of that than you fucking being held back by your trauma. Again, all respect and all empathy for those that have had true, like me, that have had some serious trauma in their life. I get it. I have had it too. The difference is, and I'm not trying to say this from a place of like self-righteousness. I'm just being fucking honest with you, unfiltered. I made the decision a long time ago that my vision was way too powerful, way too important to me to allow those limiting beliefs and behaviors to hold me back. As opposed to playing the fucking victim, which is what society wants you to do, and these gurus who want to sell you on their coaching and all this other bullshit to keep you stuck so that they can get rich and pay their fucking bills. Maybe they need to work on their trauma. Maybe they need to work on their wounds. I don't know. God bless them. But you, if you've got something that's seriously holding you back, I want to tell you from a person who's been down the path, that's fought the fucking battles, that's been through the fucking gauntlet. You can survive this. You can do this. Your grit is not something to be ashamed of. Your grit you had to earn. Your drive is not something masking your inability to face your demons and your wounds. Your drive is something that you had to earn. You had to develop. And of course, your success, dude, don't be ashamed of your success. If you've had any measure of success at any given time in your life, even if it was a past life, you're like, that was before this whole thing, it is indicative of excellence. Your excellence in performance, your behaviors, your excellence in your belief systems around those. Those are the kinds of things that led to your success. You can do it again, but you got to believe, and beyond belief, not just belief, you got to stop listening to this bullshit that these people are telling you that you're somehow stuck, broken, damaged. You need this, that, or the other thing. You don't. You just need to develop your leadership. Everything in your life right now is the culmination and the byproduct of your leadership. If you got yourself into this, you can lead yourself out. That's what I tell myself all the time. I got myself into this, I'll lead myself out. It's pretty awesome. It feels amazing to be able to say that, to have that ability to believe in yourself, but also to trust yourself enough to know, hey, man, I got myself into this. I mean, okay, I'm a little unhealthy. I'm a little like financially unhealthy. My relationships are not so healthy. Whatever the thing might be, I'll lead myself out of this. I can and I will. That is the behavior. That is the belief system of a winner. That is the belief and the behavior of a leader. And you have that inside you. So if this helped, throw it in the chat. Let me know. Throw it in the comments. If you got some value from this, share this message far and wide. Please, it would mean a lot to me if you hit that subscribe button so you can stay in the know and be the first to know when I bring new content to you. Stay tuned this Wednesday, the 26th of January, or 26th of March, 2025. New podcast episode coming out on how to help you develop your vision as a business or as a leader in business and life. And until then, remember, no matter what course you fly in life, fly high, fly fast, fly far, stay driven.